Hey guys, this is Jen from Farpoint Farms. Today we're going to do a fun little recipe called Cowboy Candy. And what this is going to be a sweet pickled jalapeno. And I've got all the ingredients needed in front of us except for the sugar or Splenda or stevia, depending on what your preference is going to be. So the big thing is it's going to be jalapenos, lots and lots and lots of jalapenos. I've got a box with about 10 pounds roughly on the table, so I'm going to go ahead and get those sliced up. We're going to do them in about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch slices. And the biggest thing that I can stress to everyone out there is to wear gloves while you are doing this, because if you do not, you're probably going to feel like you got pepper sprayed in the face if you touch your eyes, if you touch your mouth, anything along those lines. So these gloves are probably going to be the most important part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these sliced up, and then we will go on to the next step. Alright, here we are, and you can see I've got what I'm using in this recipe on the counter kind of in the back. I've got all my jalapenos, and they're going to be cut 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch slices. If you find that this recipe is going to be a little too hot for you, you can take some of the seeds out of the jalapenos. Or I've also had pretty good luck taking some of those sweet little snacking peppers, cutting them the same size and kind of mixing them in there, kind of take away some of that heat. The spices right next to it, and this is going to be based on a 3-pound batch, or roughly 3 pounds. I've got 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of each of ginger, turmeric, and celery seed. If you don't have the ginger, you can go ahead and omit it. I've done this recipe a couple of times, and I find that I do really prefer the taste of the ginger and the turmeric together. And then what I've got here, bear with me, is in the pot already. I've got my apple cider vinegar and my sugar. I went ahead and I blended them first because I want the sugar to fully dissolve. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in all those spices. And then once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring it to a boil for about 3 to 5 minutes, give or take. Kind of let all those flavors blend together. Then I'm going to add my jalapenos. Alright, I just added the jalapenos into the vinegar spice mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and get all this kind of stirred in, kind of get everything coated. And we're going to kind of bring this back to a boil. Shouldn't take very long at all. And once it goes up to a boil, we're going to turn it down. We're going to kind of let it simmer for 4 to 5 minutes. And the jalapenos will go from this really bright green, and they'll kind of start getting down to a duller green as it starts to cook down. And this smells so good right now. So delicious. And then what I do for this, sometimes I will go ahead and I will water bath can it depending on how big of a batch that I'm trying to do. And then you can check your local sites as far as how long that you might need to boil it, water can bath it, depending on what your elevation is. For us, because we are considered a higher elevation, I have to do it a little bit longer than, say, somebody at sea level. But what I'm actually going to do with this batch right here, because it's a smaller batch, I'm actually going to go ahead and do this as a refrigerator style. So I'm going to go ahead and get this put into the jars once it's all done. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it in the refrigerator. And it usually takes about a little less than a week, give or take, to go ahead and get the full amount of flavor. And then we'll just eat it out of the fridge. It's fantastic. Put on sandwiches. We'll put it in chili. You can put it in cornbread. We will dice it up almost like a size of a relish and put it on hot dogs. There's so much stuff that you can do with this. It's kind of addicting to it. Another thing that we like on the refrigerated style a little bit better is it tends to stay a little bit crunchier than it does whenever we water bath can it. Whenever we water bath it, generally tends to still have really good flavor. It just tends to be a little bit softer. Alright, while I'm waiting on this to kind of come back up to a boil so I can turn it down to simmer, some of the recipe variations that I've seen have been to add a little bit of cayenne pepper in with the spices. I find this to be spicy enough that it doesn't really need any extra zing to it, but you can go ahead and do that. I did a recipe once where I took some sweet Vidalia onions and I put them in there as well for like sandwich toppers, and that was just delicious. So once you play with it a little bit, kind of add some things that are going to add to your own flavor, how you might like it a little bit better. If you don't like anything overly spicy, you can substitute out some of the jalapenos. Like I said, I've done some of the sweet sandwich peppers in there. I've taken some like red and yellow bell peppers, sliced them up and put them in there as well. Anything that kind of takes some of that heat out of it, and it just kind of adds to the nice flavor of it. Right, I'm hoping it's going to show up well on the camera, but you can see where this is going to be a nice bright green, and this one's kind of start turning to like a darker olivey green. We want all of them to be that darker olive shade, and that's kind of when we're going to know when it's ready to go ahead and pull off the stove. Alright guys, we're about 3.5 minutes in, and it is just about ready. There's a couple light green spots here and there. I'm going to give about another minute. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the stove, and then we'll work on getting them put into some jars. Right, here we are getting ready to go ahead and put it in the jars. And I've got this great jar filler that I use anytime I do my canning. That way I don't have to worry about making too much of a mess. Whenever I do the water bath canning, I will usually do them in pints or half pint containers, but since this is going in the refrigerator and we like them so much, I'm going to go ahead and do them in a quart jar. But you can make it whatever size jar works best for you and your family. We just found that for us in the refrigerator, having the quarts work out really well. We add it on just about anything that we make. This stuff is so delicious. You might have to push your jalapenos down a little bit in the jar in order to make sure that it all fits in there. So I just pushed that one down just a little bit, made it a little bit more room. And this is roughly about 3 pounds that I made, and it's taking a full quart and a little pint jar. If you're going to do it in just like pints or half pints, it would probably make 4 or 5, which is a good amount to go ahead and can. I gave this stuff away one year for Christmas, and all my family relatives were asking for more, so it definitely was a hit for them. And then we're going to go ahead, if you were going to water bath can it, you would go ahead and put the remaining liquid back on the stove, kind of let it boil down just a little bit more. Because I am doing refrigerated version, making a mess, I'm going to go ahead and just pour it directly in here. If you have any leftover juices, do not throw it away. It makes an excellent marinade for chicken. You can make it into barbecue sauce. There's so much stuff that you can do with it. A lot of times I will take store-bought barbecue sauce and add a little bit of this into it, and it just makes it that much better. Right, now that I'm done getting the jars nice and full, I'm going to go ahead and ladle in some of this liquid. Now when I added the sugar to this recipe, it called for 6 cups. I found for us 6 cups of sugar is just way too sweet. So we ended up doing, I want to say 5. If you do less than that, it just has a very strong vinegar taste, and it doesn't have that nice sweetness to it. Alright, there we go. We have ourselves some Cowboy Candy. I'm going to highly recommend that you guys go ahead and do give this recipe a try. It is very, very simple, very delicious. Everyone in your family is going to be bound to like it. And it's really, really easy. This took me start to finish, even cutting the jalapenos, maybe 20 minutes to make. So this is something that you guys can easily do without taking up a lot of time. If I did water bath can it, it would probably take about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes start to finish, because that canning time, and then the cleanup for it. Alright guys, really do appreciate you guys sticking around, watching me make some cowboy candies. If you guys have any comments, feel free to leave them in the comment box below. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.